Hey guys, welcome to the Ramon Foster Show with no Ramon. Ramon was not able to come in today, and I have an echo here.
But that's a problem for you.
Yeah, just put mute on there. Ready? Okay, we'll start it over. Just like that. We can pretend we can start it over. Just like that. All right, ready?
Doing great.
Hello and welcome to the Ramon Foster Show. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. She's Dolly Kovacevic of actual DK Pittsburgh Sports. She's actually the DK in DK Pittsburgh Sports. No Ramon today. He's been called away kind of at the last minute on a family matter. I can assure you that it's important, but it's also not anything that's worth anyone getting all concerned about. We are here on the program today. She's going to help out, and sometimes it just helps whenever you're doing one of these things to have another presence, another voice in there. So I appreciate everyone helping me get through this program without Moan. It's so sad without him, isn't it?
I can unmute myself now. You give me unmute permission. Thank you. Yes, it is. I always get suckered into these against my will, but here I am.
Let's start the thing here. I have the bell somewhere. Where's the Casey Kester bell? Here we go. Ready?
No, let me do it.
I got it.
Damn it.
Jeez. All right, guys, we're going to dive right into your questions today. We're going to avoid, any and all pregame banter or any of that stuff. You saw the Matt Canada press conference. You heard what he had to say. The one thing that I do want to bring up before we really get rolling today, as it relates to Canada, was his little bit of a soliloquy that he did regarding the CBS mentions of what he had spoken to them in the pregame prep that they do regarding how the Steelers offense was not equipped to come back from big deficits. Guys, he has said this many times before. So I don't even know what he was getting at today when he was trying to make it sound as if he didn't say that to the CBS guys. Now, maybe the CBS guys did go ahead and misinterpret it or whatever, but I've heard him say it, and it's not a big deal. They do not have an offense that's equipped to come back from big deficits. They just don't. And by that, it's not at all an insult. It's just saying this is what we have. We don't have a big play offense. And when you get behind by 16 to 18 points and it's the third quarter, you got to start putting the ball up. That's all. You're not going to stay with whatever it was that you had as your original script. So I want to get that one out of the way here. Mommy comes in with an, oh, God, please fire Canada. And we're going to have a lot of that today. Mark Lancaster says Kevin Dotson and Kendrick Green are playing out of their minds away from this staff. They aren't, Mark. Dotson is off to a nice start. Green had one good game and then was hurt and now is done. So we don't have to extrapolate these things to it's already pretty bad. Let's put it that way. Donan says here that he needs a dose of reality. I don't know if that means Canada or what. You can come back and be a little bit more specific. Justin asks if Ramon will be here. Not at this juncture. No, very well played. No, Ramon actually won't be here, regardless of juncture. I hope Kenny says David is rested this week and we go with Mitch. You know what, David? I've got different views on this. I actually would just rather go with whatever it is that they decide, meaning that the medical team decides as it relates to Kenny. It's not a great situation either way, but I'm sorry. I don't know who would or wouldn't want to hear this, but I really just don't like the idea of the Steelers winning this game. Meaning that it'll just afford them the luxury of what they actually want in this, which is to not make changes. That's the priority. And that, by the way, is the problem. Nate says, and he's asking with a $9.99 contribution, DK, is the shop open before the game? I'll leave that one to the boss.
That is a emphatic yes. The luxury of living up the street.
You're muted.
I'm not.
You are.
I'm not.
Okay. Whenever she unmutes here, we'll get the answer from her.
I am unmuted.
Okay. All
Okay,
right.
just
Now you
because
are. Now you are.
I've always been unmuted. Can we please bring Ramon back and I'll just do it with him rather than with you. You are like the worst show host. Anyway, I know you guys can hear me. I will be here. We live right up the street, so I make a habit of opening before and after Steelers games because it's just so much fun to see all the fans coming in and out and chit-chatting with them, and a lot of our fans from all over the country and even the world sometimes stop in to say hi. So it's a lot of fun for me. I'll definitely be here.
Yeah, Nate points out, I would love to stop by. Flying in from New Mexico for the game, I was definitely more excited about this game 2 months ago. Yeah, I'm sure everybody was here. Paulie wants to know from the boss again. Let me put this one up. Paulie says, hey, Dolly, what do you think will be the outcome of the Steelers versus Raisins game? Boy, that didn't take long.
See, I'm not doing this, Paul. I'm not here for the sports. Just here to fill in a seat because he doesn't feel comfortable being the only one on a screen. So I'm just sharing the screen.
You missed Paulie's line. Look again.
No, I got the Raisins, but that's what they're called. She's just, we're just using the correct name.
All right,
That is what they're called.
Who they are. Al says, besides firing Canada, the only other chant I want to hear this weekend is raise the standard. This is just a me thing. I really can't stand when somebody suggests that a crowd should chant something and they're not going to be there. Al, if you're going to the game, chant whatever you want, but don't tell the people who are going to be there what to chant. That's transference here. Luke says, hey, DK, how much confidence do you have in Kenny given the fact that his knee isn't 100%? Luke, I hate to say this. If his knee was 100%, how much confidence could I have? How much confidence could you or anybody have? This offense, my friends, is dead bleeping last in the NFL by some advanced metrics. You can look at yards per game. You can look at scoring points. They're way down there and all of those. But when you do a cumulative on them, and there are numbers to support this, they're the worst. And he's been the quarterback for almost all of it. Sure, the coordinator has been lobotomized, okay? The running game isn't working. The offensive line isn't clicking. I don't even know what to think about the offensive receivers in this whole mix, but Kenny hasn't been any good either. And I just don't see how anybody right now could have confidence in that regard. I really don't. Jim Montgomery says, anybody else unsure if they might rather lose just to get some changes made? I don't know. You guys tell me. The Steelers certainly wouldn't want that. They want to win in part so they don't have to make changes. I actually believe that. I can't believe I'm saying it, but I believe that's going to be part of the motivation here. I don't believe that this head coach wants to make a change. I don't believe that Art Rooney wants to make a change. Mr. Wire says, is Mike Tomlin stubborn? What do you think? Of course he is. Of course he is. That's who he is. But he's also a big, big part of this culture. So the culture is also part of him. So he's been around the Rooneys for a long time. They don't make changes. They don't change coaches, no matter how bad they are, no matter how obvious it is to everybody else. They just don't do it. And I really believe that at this point is a priority over winning the game against Baltimore at home. Jonah John says, I have a question. Kenny Pickett's pocket presence hasn't been good. His progression seemed to be off. Is this something that he can be taught by the right people, or is this a problem that he'll continue to have? When you have a quarterback who's got a pocket, Jonah, and hear me out on this, and you guys all know which play I'm referring to, the 4th and 1. and he's got a pocket, and he's in that pocket. The receivers are running their prescribed routes, and he turns the way Kenny did. And then he goes to his right, and he runs right into a sack that knocks him out of the game when Broderick Jones had that dude blocked. When that happens, and you're thinking about the coaches, no, that's when you're taking it too far. Matt Canada is a terrible offensive coordinator, but he can also not be responsible for that specific play. Kenny is having his own troubles. If you want to have evidence of that, it was on the other side of the football Sunday in Houston. When you're looking at, the plays that, what was his name? Quarterback for the Texans, CJ Stroud. When you're looking at the plays that he's making, he was in his 4th NFL game, like ever. He was playing behind a nothing line. Those guys were grocery baggers. They were missing 4 of their 5 starters. And he was given a whole new game plan, meaning something that the Texans had put into place for the Steelers to face the Steelers and what they expected to get from that defense. And he did fine. Nobody was talking about his happy feet. So there's a line here. You don't have to pick one person to blame. I say this all the time. Ryan Smith says, Glenn Thomas. Look, she can do this too. Watch this, like magic. Oh, man. Tycho says if Mitch Trubisky goes out and plays well, that'll destroy Kenny's confidence. I don't know about that, but it sure would make for an interesting bye week here on the Ramon Foster Show, wouldn't it? Imagine that. Mitch goes and just balls out, That would throw everything into mix. But you know what else what it would do? It would totally vindicate Matt Canada. Do you want that? Francesco says, I like that. You hear that? Francesco.
Yeah, very Italian.
Huh?
Very?
Mm-hmm.
You like the way I said it? Francesco. You actually do sound Italian, right?
I mean, it's almost exactly like Romanian.
It really is.
Yeah.
It really is. So
give us Latin and all.
Give us a Francesco there.
Francesco.
There you go. Francesco says, I'm so torn on this situation. When you watch the film, the plays are actually there a lot. They just aren't executing. It's everyone. Everyone stinks. Yes. Including the coordinator and quite possibly beginning with the coordinator. Okay. He might be at the root of this. He might be at the root of the problems that they have. He might be stripping them of their confidence. But man, at the same time, geez. Ryan Miller says, let's be real, DK. Regardless of how they do Sunday, there's not a high likelihood that Canada goes anywhere. I mean, precedent's on your side, my man. It just is. Are we ready for the break?
I just thought of something.
Hang on. All right, go ahead.
We're going to test our marriage right here in the air. Do you remember the first time I saw the Raisins?
Yeah, it was at Three River Stadium.
Right.
It was 96, the year you came.
Oh, okay. I think he's about to save himself.
There was a Rod Woodson pick 6 very early in the game. Come on, those of you who are longtime Steelers fans, maybe you'll remember this one. But she had just come here from Romania, and I wanted her to see my people. Okay, these were my people. These were all my animals, twirling pigs in the parking lot and everything else, right? And she saw, and then we go inside, and it was something else entirely.
Maybe after the break, I can tell the version that I
Hang on.
After the break, I can tell them how I saw things.
Okay. All right. Let's do that. Right after this break, which is coming right now.
At DK Pittsburgh Sports, we take pride in coverage that connects our city's fans to their favorite teams. Now, that connection's stronger than ever. Introducing our all-new state-of-the-art app. Find expert inside reporting and original podcasts. Check live box scores. Track the latest stats. Chat it up with our community of thousands of fans, all in one place. the new app from DK Pittsburgh Sports. Coverage that connects.
All right. Paulie says, hey, DK, without Ramon, we will just try harder and put pads in the chat. Yeah, that's what you do. You just put on the pads and start hitting people, and everything's going to be okay. Mark Lancaster says, Mink is being schemed out of position due to a lack of physicality up front. All you need to know about Minka, don't even get into Minka and whether or not he's making big plays, because he led the team in tackles the other day in Houston. You know, I mean, that's beyond belief that we're now how many years into this, and Minka's leading the team in tackles here. What were you going to say about this was Steelers versus Ravens in 1996.
What I was going to say is that you picked me up from the airport. Okay. I had just landed from a whole nother universe. I didn't even understand why the faucets didn't have handles, and I had to, figure out how to flush an automatic toilet at the airport. That was my beginning of the experience. And then you decide to pick me up, drive me around the entire city in the rain, keep me up all night. Then we went and scalped tickets, which I also did not understand why there were people running up and down, with pieces of paper. They were trading them for a lot of money on the side of the road. So I thought this is going to be some really like a concert or some fun experience. And then
no, it's not fun.
A very different atmosphere than anything I've ever. And I've seen soccer. This was not like
yeah. And when you see
terrified.
When you see soccer anywhere in Europe, when you see sports in Europe, but especially soccer, people are happy. They're singing. They're dancing.
I was terrified.
And in the case you come into an NFL game, especially in a place like Pittsburgh,
I was terrified.
It's
for
not
my life.
It's not a joyful experience.
No, it also did not. I definitely smelled like beer, and it's not because I was drinking it when I left. There was spillage.
Evan Ort says it's definitely not handball. No, it's not. It's absolutely
okay. That's enough. I can block you. Who was it?
Oh, I hit him already. You're safe, Evan. Nick says, how about an AI coordinator? Let me try to put this up. There it is. CMU is creating driverless cars. Surely they could scheme and call a game. I mean, the funny thing is, Nick, we can say that and laugh about it, but there's going to be some truth to that. There's going to be some thinking about the play schemes that you have, the percentage of times in which they work, what play leads better into another. I'm thinking for those of you who are baseball fans, pitch sequencing. In other words, if you throw a fastball over the inside part of the plate and your next pitch is a slider that turns away from the batter, but it tunnels the same way, meaning it's coming at the hitter the same way for the first 30 feet or so. That's stuff that is determined by computers. And from there, you can make a plan. Football is the most scripted of sports. So you could think of something and you could utilize computers. So I wouldn't laugh at it entirely here. Jerry says a VR game live. I wouldn't go quite that far. But yeah, no, I mean, it couldn't be any worse than what we've seen. Bob says, as a 5-year-old in Three Rivers, I saw a man throw scalding hot coffee in the face of a Bengals fan who was loud. I can still hear this dude screaming as his face blistered in the freezing cold. Oh, I don't think that's our game, though. We're trying to get references to that specific game here. Lyle wants to know from the boss here, what is wrong with that? I've even gone to Cleveland to watch games. It's not that it was wrong. You have to understand, this is a massive culture shock. When she came over here, she'd never been really outside Romania other than a couple of nearby countries in Europe. And you come over here, how old were you, 21? She was 21. And so everything was brand new. This was going to be her whole new world and everything. And I'm showing her Pittsburgh, and that's one of the first things.
No, that is the first
week.
thing.
Yeah.
Before I even saw your family, I saw the raisins.
You saw the raisins.
So now, that kind of makes sense. Why? Like, I didn't know any English. I really thought everybody was saying raisins. And they were purple, so it made perfect sense.
Oh, Hannibal says,
No, can we just address how awkward you are without Ramon? Because we can't let this.
I
we
hate
can't
it.
let this go.
No offense.
Oh my God!
It's like I've lost an appendage.
I've seen you do this for 25 years, and you're never weird. You're just so awkward.
It's not my show. Look up in the corner. It's the Ramon Foster show.
I can't stop laughing on the inside. It's so,
I know. I'm sure
so
everybody
bad.
else is too.
Like you're like your throat is dry. You can't finish your sentences. You're like, I don't even know if you're making any sense sports wise. That's the part I can't judge.
I'm trying.
Oh my God, this is the worst show you've ever done, dude.
It's just, I know, but at the same time, it's like I miss the guy when he's not around, and he's told me the same thing. Remember a couple of times he's had to do the show without me.
He did better than you are doing right now, guys. Come on, help me out. True or not?
Hannibal says, "How do fans who are not Pittsburgh residents get the full assistant coach interviews instead of snippets? I can hardly ever find the full interviews. The full interviews are available only on the team's website, and the reason for that is." The Steelers and the National Football League have a 90-second video limit that independent outlets like ours at DK Pittsburgh Sports can put up. So what we try to do on our site and in our venues is we will pare down to what we think and hope is representative or that might be the most newsworthy. If it's 3 or 4 different players, they all have to add up to 90 seconds. But if you want the entire thing, the place to go is to Steelers.com. That's just how it is. Mike says, I'm sure someone else has figured this as well, but our defense has been on the field for over 21 more minutes, game minutes, than the offense. And, I'm glad somebody brings that up. The first thing that I'm inclined to say to that, though, Mike, is that the defense wasn't tired when the Texans ran the ball right down their throats on the very first drive Sunday in Houston, okay? So no excuses there. That ended up being Houston's only significant drive for a while there until the game became a rout late. I didn't like that. I didn't like the fact that the defense got schooled the way they did, that they weren't ready for what the Texans did in terms of those little screen dumps across the middle. But yes, this is going to take a toll. It's going to take a toll on them physically. It's going to take a toll on the defense health-wise. I don't want to scare anybody here, but someone significant is going to get hurt. The more snaps they're on the field for, and that stinks. Okay. And once again, this is kind of like the multiple degrees of Kevin Bacon, but as you're going from the defense being on the field too much, who do you blame that on? The offense. The offense stinks. Who do you blame that on? Well, the players. Okay. But the players have a bad scheme, which might be throwing it. Everything comes back to the coordinator. It's like it's at the beginning of the chain. David wants a raisins emoji. Why? Ryan says, I stole my wife at the young age of 21. Would you consider that a theft?
No, you just came into a culture where you were just much nicer to women than anybody else was.
The guys are jerks over there. They really are. This easy.
I thought I hit the jackpot.
If you're even remotely respectful to women, you go over there, you're like an alien.
Plus, you came with endorsements, so otherwise,
I'd known her uncle and whatever. So, but yeah, theft. I don't know if I would consider it theft. Francesco lies.
Pretty smooth, but can I tell them the internet cafe story?
Yeah, go ahead. Right here. Do it here.
Where?
To the camera. Not at
I
me.
am in the camera.
Right.
It's just okay. If you guys would see this setup, because this is my spot where I sit when he usually does the show. So I'm literally right across the table from him, which is why you can hear me probably in his mic as well. So it's pretty awkward. But so I meet this guy, and I'm already like American, whatever. I'm very guarded, and then on top of that, every single day, he decides he's like, oh, let's go for a walk. So we go to. Do you guys remember internet cafes? I know I'm really dating myself. So we go to Timișoara in my hometown to an internet cafe.
That's in Western Romania.
Mm-hmm. So he spends, whatever he pays for an hour at the internet cafe, so he can get online for 10 minutes and check something. I didn't know what he was checking, but depending on whatever it is that he was reading there, is either the day was ruined or he was in the best mood of his life. Little did I know, but he could tell you what he was checking every day.
Oh, yeah. Baseball scores. Yeah, I needed to know what the Pirates were doing that day. And everything happened back then. This was like in the infancy of the internet. The information would come in like 7-8 hours late. So this game had already occurred, and it just took that long for the internet cafe to open and for me to go in there breathlessly.
And I really thought you were crazy because you would your mood would change so dramatically. I'm like, what the hell is this? You're either a spy or what the heck is going on in it? And you did try to explain to me, but none of it made, like, what do you mean you're in a bad mood? I also didn't know they play a game tomorrow and the day after that, and the day after that. And
playing baseball is played every day. Yeah.
That is some power baseball has over you. Well, I don't know anymore. At the time, it was different. You had season tickets at the time. Although that was the Polkovic era was some of the best time in my life when we were going to those games all the time. Do you remember?
Mm-hmm. The Polkovic era. You're going to throw Steelers fans off. They're like, what's a Kevin Polkovic? DB Cooper says, I've been such a Kenny Pickett supporter since day one, but at this point, I'm leaning toward he's a bust. Why do you have to do that, though? Why do you have to make a decision on whether or not he's a bust? Ben Roethlisberger said a few years ago when he was asked a question about a wave of young quarterbacks coming into the NFL, RG3 was one of those. In fact, the question specifically was about RG3 within that class. And Ben's response, which a lot of people took as being kind of excessively defensive or whatever, was, ask me after 3 years. Ask me what I see in these quarterbacks or any quarterback after 3 years. And part of the reason he was doing that is because he was obviously part of a class where, his guys made it. He made it. Eli made it. Phillip Rivers made it. Okay. That was a great, great, great quarterback class. And he could talk from experience. But this idea that you want to just make a decision, that's very ESPN-ish. It's very hot takes-ish. You don't need to do that. The next game will tell you a little bit more about Kenny. And then the game after that will tell you a little bit more about Kenny. Al says, I'm sorry, is this Al or AJ here? AJ says, I'm old enough to remember the P on Dion stickers around the 95, 96. Yeah, well, Dion ended up doing that because the Cowboys won that thanks to Neil O'Donnell. David says all trails lead to Fire Canada. I mean, they do. They do. Robert Cotting says that somewhere somebody put up the entire press conference today on YouTube. You're not allowed. I mean, you're not allowed. So whoever it is, you might want to send them a friendly note. Canada said on the 4th and 1 play, it's just a play we had. Seriously, boy, am I glad somebody brought this up because that actually was his answer. And that was the extent of his answer when asked, why did you do what you did on 4th and 1? Meaning just the decision to pass. Again, Kenny's at fault for the spin and running into the dude. But when you're talking about the 4th and 1, it was a shotgun formation. Wide receivers were spread. They were advertising on a Houston billboard that they were about to pass because they don't have any kind of trickery or whatever going on. And the Texans defended it, and they defended it extremely well. And that's all he had to say. That is all he had to say on that. That was a play we had. If you want to get outraged about a comment that Canada makes, it's not the thing he said to the CBS guys. That was A, the truth, and B, something he has said many times. But this is a complete abject lack of accountability. Everyone says, well, why don't you ask these guys the tough questions or whatever? He was asked, what happened on that 4th and 1? What went into your decision there? That's what you do as a reporter. You don't say, why are you an idiot or why did this or that happen? That's unprofessional. Not from their eyes, but from your own eyes as a journalist. The question was asked, and that was the answer. Darren Watt comes in with is that Aussie? I think that is Aussie 200 or Aussie $20. Mm-hmm. Thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Kovacevic. That sounds weird.
No, that's cool. We are Mr. and Mrs. Kovacevic.
We are. For the high quality product you continually supply for this international
Darren,
thanks, mate.
Seriously, Thank you. I still cannot believe how many people rallied around the show. And I want to share a story from today because I get still so surprised every time that it happens. I had a wonderful family from Colorado coming to town for the Steelers game, so they stopped to see us and got themselves geared up from the game with some really cool garb I have in here. But I, as always, ask how someone found out about the show because I'm always curious, and I assume that they're most often than not subscribers from DK Pittsburgh Sports, and it's not at all the case. It was just basically YouTube algorithm putting. Well, first it was the Daily Shots. It was Dan's Daily Shot show into this gentleman's feed, so he was listening to it, and then the Ramon show, and so on. And that brings me to why I'm so annoying at every one of those shows when I text from the background, like and subscribe, because the reason this particular family found out about the show is because YouTube pushed the show into its feed because there's a lot of rallying around it, a lot of people watching and listening and rewatching later, and that's because of all the likes and subscribes, and that's what grows the algorithm. So thank you for watching and thank you for sharing, and that's what's making it grow. And it's so freaking cool. I'll show you some numbers here that I'm staring at.
Put them up while I take this next question. All right, let's do that. Type them up on the board here. TJ says, "Hey DK, do you ever get riled up while trying to get your question out in a media scrum? Do they allow every reporter to ask a question? I see some talking over each other to get a question in. Everyone's got to get over this idea that the team allows or doesn't allow stuff. This just doesn't happen. Okay, reporting is a wild, wild west environment. Okay, the Steelers open the locker room, and whether it's press conferences, whether it's players being put in front of that familiar PNC Bank backdrop that you see now, or whether it's right at their stalls, which is where I prefer to do stuff because I prefer to get as many one-on-one interviews as I can. There's no rules. Okay, so every once in a while, yes, we're gonna talk over each other, or we're gonna try to ask a question at the same time. Do I ever get riled up? No, I'd like to think I have a pretty good sense for the timing. You know, you watch the athletes. I can't believe I'm going to say this here on the video, but you watch the athletes' mouths move. You're around them often enough to tell when their intonation is nearing the end of an answer. So you get ready, and the split second that answer is done, you come in with, Kenny, what do you think? Whatever else. Now, if somebody else has your same sense of timing, there's going to be a thing. The only time that I'll get kind of annoyed is when the other party will then start screaming, okay, to try to get the question heard over yours. Like, you're going to have a chance, okay? There's no need for that. But otherwise, no, there's not really an issue here. David is impressed from afar that you are multitasking. You are overseeing DK, meaning me. Are you overseeing me? Here,
I'm keeping you alive. I'm not overseeing you.
The shop and doing the show. We need some of that for the offense. Yeah, the offense could use some people blessed with a little bit of Dolly-like versatility here. Calypso says, DK, how much of an impact, in your opinion, will the padded practices have for the team? And isn't it a bigger risk for injuries, in your opinion? Boy, am I glad. This is going to be the best question we get today. This is good stuff. I do believe, as laughable as it is to connect, hell yeah, there are going to be changes, like Tomlin said in Houston, and then 2 days later say, well, the change is going to be we're going to do some padded practices. That's a bad connect. And I'm sure if Tomlin had that line to do over again in Houston, and I was in that room, and I almost had the sense, even when he said it, like, oh, dude, you are so going to regret that line. And he did, obviously, 2 days later. That said, shove that off to the side. The padded practices will make a difference. The Steelers will be more physical. They'll be more involved. They'll have more of a fight to them. When they beat the Browns, in particular, they did so because they came with that fight. It wasn't pretty. It didn't get, any style points, but they got it done. Ryan says, predictions for Sunday. I think it'll be a 3-point game. That's what I've got for you, Ryan. I think it'll be a 3-point game. You know why? Every time these teams play, look it up. It's an amazing statistic. It's a 3-point game. Chad says, DK, have you ever seen a Steelers game where Renegade was not played at all? Could this Sunday be the first? Not sure why it would be, but maybe you can explain that part of the question. Yeah, because I've seen Steelers games, tons of them, before they started doing the Renegade thing. So I do recall, though, that there is a that there was a game or two where it just didn't come about, and most often those are games where the Steelers are blowing the other guys out, or vice versa. Okay, maybe somebody else can jump in. Somebody who's a season ticket holder. I don't pay that much attention to that stuff, but I'll bet that was the circumstance. And here comes the passport line. I knew that was coming. DK was the original passport bro. LOL. Oh, no, it's up there. She said, don't put that on the screen. Sticky B points out that Josh Allen wasn't great in his second year. No, but you could see signs of it. Okay, you could see signs of Josh Allen right away. Bob Schreiner says, are we talking about Timișoara, Western Romania? Yeah, it's the biggest city on that side of the country.
Awesome.
Actually, it's a really beautiful city. Not all that big either. Like, it's not one of those like overwhelmed European cities or whatever with millions of people. Population's around 400,000. Really diverse. And when you talk about diversity over there, you're not talking like here we're talking about race when we're talking about diversity. Over there, it's ethnicities. There's ethnic Hungarians, Serbs, of course, Romanians, lots of Germans too. Mike says, putting this up on the screen here, DK, this is what engineers call a stack-up issue. To resolve the issue, you need to make one change at a time to find the root cause. Yeah, okay, Mike, that sounds good, but it's a 17-game schedule. Engineers and developers take their good old time. They can do stuff into oblivion because it doesn't matter, and they get their $900 an hour or whatever it is regardless. This is different. You don't have that time. Jeffrey comes in with another name. If you graded Jalen Hurts at this point in his career, you would say trash, not good enough, right? He did get coached up, and he also got schemed up. If you want to become a member of this show, you can do that by going to dkps.net/join. How are we doing on that anyway?
1,208 members.
Oh,
and
that's pretty good over yesterday, yeah.
It just has to be noted how many of those members come from gift subscriptions. Your contributions are so appreciated, and so many more people get to, put up emojis because of you. But here's something super interesting. Like in the last 30 days, we gained 694 members just in the last 30 days. We lost 584. And that's really the power of these gift subscriptions. That's how many of these
this is all on a monthly rotation for those of you who don't know and wonder why we would lose 594. That's why the month expires, the gift expires, and then that person then has to make a decision.
Yeah, but that just tells you statistically how many of the members are carried to gift subscriptions, and that's really freaking cool.
Getting multiple references here to the three chefs, and that is a good reminder that at the Get-Go Cafe and Market, quality is at the core of every menu item. 3 expert chefs fine-tune every detail so that every sub, burger, salad, wrap, drink, and app is crafted for what see, I'm looking over her. This is where I miss Moan. Moan is doing the words with me and saying craveability.
Well, all I'm thinking is how the chefs have totally wasted their time for crafting these recipes, because when you go there, you just order a tortilla filled with steak. Basically, legitimately, that is what he gets.
That is what I get there.
Just tortilla, mountain of meat, wrap it up.
Oh, no, you forgot the mountain of cheese.
Mountain of cheese. The 3 chefs are probably, come on, man. We worked so hard to come up with other
recipes.
All 3 of us. Could have just served this guy some meat.
I'm even getting criticized for my Get-Go Cafe and Market orders today. Order your favorite entry at the Get-Go Cafe and Market today. Better believe it. Jeffrey comes in and says, our problems stem from the shiny toys they drafted. I don't buy that. I hear that's a hot takes talk radio thing. I don't buy that. The team needed a quarterback. The team needed a running back. Yeah, they also needed to replace the offensive line. But guess what? They did. Excuse me. They spent 9 figures on these guys. 9 figures to stock up that offensive line. And now they already have a first-round pick. They moved up to 14th to get Broderick Jones. Jacob says, DK, there's like 4 or 5 videos already of the whole Matt Canada interview. Tomorrow there'll be like 10. Well, none of them is allowed. They're just not. And the NFL is really, really good at cracking down, Jacob, so they can enjoy whatever they get out of it in the short term. But
I think I'm going to do this one. I'm going to make a me raging emoji.
You're on mute.
I'm telling you.
Oh, okay. Terry says, well, we're going to have to cut this short today. See, that's the other thing. When you have somebody else, when Moan is here, you don't have to do all the talking. Steelers are a very, very bad team, says Terry. Terry's really down. I don't expect much this year.
Are you going to make it?
Hang on a second. I got to unmute her
Guys,
here.
I don't think you will.
She is now going to, you unmute it, and you read Terry's
I
question.
don't think you're going to make it.
Read Terry's question here.
Steelers are a bad, very bad team. I don't expect much this year.
That sounds like Naeem and Ajad from Office Space. Steelers are,
it's very, very,
very bad.
It is
Horrible,
very bad.
horrible team. If you guys don't know Office Space references, keep going.
Kenny's third year. That's when things are going to get going.
You have to read the last 2 words because he says it almost like a sign off.
Fire Canada. Period.
Yeah, it's almost like
Fire.
It's like the way you hang up the phone. Love you, bye.
the college
Fire
people
Canada.
say "Hail to Pitt" or "We are" or something. It's like
No,
a
this
sign
is like
off.
how
It's
you
Fire
end the
Canada.
sentence. Like it becomes an automatic. Such and such Fire Canada.
Sloan wants to know, when was the last time you went to games as a fan without being a journalist? Boy, would you have that answer?
You? It was definitely the Pirate season tickets. 97 probably.
It's been a long time. People think we make this stuff up about not
No.
being fans. We're not.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want me to
long
really make you
time.
look bad, I'll share that sometimes you root against your own teams just because it makes you look good as a journalist.
Hey, shh. Jeez. Wow.
Look, you guys, this may be the last time you see me in a little box here.
Just might. Oh, no. Wrongism comes in. Hey, DK, when a player like Deontay Johnson comes back from injury, does the play calling change significantly? Sure, it does. I mean, Deontay's a 10-target guy. Deontay's one of the very best in all of football at getting open. He's a safety valve. He's an outlet that's consistently there for you. Quarterbacks value that, I think, in an almost outsized way. That's the reason that you'll hear quarterbacks say things like about Gunnar Olszewski, the way Kenny was glowing about him. Or who was the guy that Ben was all stoked up about that everybody couldn't stand? And he would always get open. That's what it's about. Put his name up here on the board, whoever can think of it. The guy that Ben really loved, little dude, that just couldn't make anything happen after the catch. But he was always, always open. And quarterbacks value that. Yeah, here it is, Ryan Switzer. And there's a reason for that. So losing Deontay does hurt the offense. It's a factor. It's not the factor. It's not what makes you throw the ball on 4th and 1 when you just got your running game going. Okay? It's not. It's not the system of the lack of accountability or the coordinator giving that reprehensible answer that he did today about how, well, that was the play that we had. Really, dude? I mean, I'm still not seeing anybody getting upset about this. And they get upset about stuff that really wasn't worth getting upset about at all. That to me, if I'm a fan, that makes me ballistic. Okay? That makes me see that all of the things that I have in my head about the lack of accountability are accurate. Way more so than the thing that the CBS people brought up. Joe Yinzer says, funny how everyone knows who it is when it pops up on the screen. Oh, yeah. You mean Switzer. That's actually pretty funny here. Matthew says, and we're going to take just a couple more today because you can tell. Matthew says, Deontay is one of the very best about getting open. He's also one of the very worst at producing when it counts. Results are what matter. Okay. Deontay had a tremendous summer. Deontay was about to have a really, really good season that was going to prove a lot of people, myself included, wrong, because I've been critical the same thing that you have, Matthew. The difference is I'm not speaking of it in the present tense, and you are. And the last one for the day comes from a member, Evan, who says, DK, is Canada hurting the development of Kenny? He hasn't grown at all, but how much is teacher versus student? She sees me backing up from the chair here. This is when I stand up, okay? Whenever I have to make a really emphatic point. She hates this because I do this in casual conversation, okay? Canada is hurting everybody. You don't have to pick it apart. You don't have to ask, okay, yes, but is he also hurting this? Oh, what about this over here? Is he hurting this? He is hurting everybody and everything. He is not the problem, but he is the number one problem. He has to go. Whatever it is that occurs on Sunday, whatever it is that the head coach might have meant when he said, not at this juncture, no, meaning I just have to get through this week and I'm getting rid of this guy for the bye week so that we have 2 full weeks to set up how we're going to do things in advance of the following game. Whatever it takes, this guy has to be out of the equation. Not next year, not the coming off season, now. And part of the reason for that, part of it is what you just said, which is that he is hurting the quarterback. He's casting doubts, not just from the outside on the quarterback, but maybe even on the inside. Maybe even Kenny himself. You know, if I ran that 4th and 1 play and I ran into that sack and I hurt my knee on that, I'd think less of myself as a quarterback. I'm guessing that you would too. But that play never needed to be anything other than a handoff to number 22. That's all it needed to be. And it wasn't. And that's on one guy. That's on one guy. Guys, hey, listen, we appreciate this. I'll let you know as soon as possible about Ramon's status for tomorrow. We don't know that right now. But if we do this again.
We may need to replace you. I can sit here in a box next to anyone, but you maybe we'll practice. Do you want to practice later?
Practice doing the Ramon show.
You guys want to know the preparation and the practice?
We'll even have the song and everything. Like just do it like the what was that group that the Pentatonics? We'll do like the theme song with it. Boom, 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 I don't know.
Oh, I just think people need to know the preparation that goes into the show. He is still sitting on another chair at usually 57 after, which is why we can't get started ever at 4. Because he doesn't even sit in his chair until his 1 minute till, and then something doesn't connect properly every day.
Yeah, that's great.
But that's good.
No, we're gonna. Somebody's asking about the after show. No, we're gonna save the after show.
No, I just have to do a voiceover. I have it here for the after show. I'm ready.
Oh, you do?
Oh yeah, you'll see it.
All right, well then we'll do that now. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. I knew this was coming.
I want to drink your blood.
Is
that Williams? What you were expecting? Did I do well? I want to drink your blood.
People were mad at me for not letting you ring the bell. But
it's too late now. I didn't
get Casey Kester's permission to pass this out to anybody but Ramon.
No, it would have just been anyway.
Oh my God, we're gonna do this again tomorrow. Worst show ever.
The worst show ever.
Bye, guys.
Oh my God, he's actually, I think, relieved that he can end stream. Like, look at that. That is the look of relief.